before she was worshipped as a goddess of gold. Marika burned an entire people from the map, not in self-defense, not in a war she lost, in a war she started. And the real mystery isn't that it happened, it's why she thought it had to. History, as the Golden Order tells it, begins with her ascension, a new age of order, a new god, a new light spreading across a grateful land. But ask what came before that light, and the Erdtree gives you silence. Ask who lived in the lands between before the golden banners rose, and the silence gets heavier. That silence is not an accident. It is the first lie the Golden Order ever told, and it is built on a graveyard nobody was meant to find. It helps to picture what existed before any of this. Not an empty wilderness waiting for a savior, but an entire civilization with its own rhythms, its own seasons of worship, its own quiet certainty that the world made sense on its own terms. People who looked up at the moon every night with the same devotion others would later reserve for a tree, who buried their dead according to rites no outsider ever bothered to record before those rites disappeared, along with the people who practiced them. That is what was standing in the way of the New Order's arrival. Not chaos, not darkness, just a different answer to the same old question of what deserves worship. Long before the shattering, before any crown or any war between demigods, the lands between belonged to someone else, the Hornsent, an ancient people with their own gods, their own laws, and their own explanation for how the world worked. They were not a scattered tribe waiting to be civilized. They were a functioning civilization that had survived for centuries without the Erdtree, without the Golden Order, and without Marika. That fact matters more than any battlefield ever could, because that may have been the real problem. A civilization that survives without your religion is not just a political rival. It is evidence that your religion is not the only answer. Every temple, every ritual, every child raised under Hornsent beliefs was a living contradiction of the claim that the Golden Order was destined to rule the world. If Marika wanted her order to be seen as inevitable, then the continued existence of another successful worldview was more dangerous than any army. Subscribe for more stories about Marika's choices and the people who paid the price for them. And then she rose. With her came the Erdtree, the promise of order, and an army that did not arrive to negotiate. It arrived to replace. This is the part the official histories skip entirely. The war against the Hornsent was not a clash between equals settled on a battlefield and then forgotten. It was systematic. The forces of the New Order did not simply defeat Hornsent armies. They pursued their bloodline afterward, long after the fighting had any military purpose left to serve. The Albinorics, the pale, horn-marked descendants of the Hornsent, became targets not because they resisted, but because their blood existed at all. A horn on a child's head was enough. Carrying that ancestry after the war meant carrying a kind of death sentence that could stretch across generations, passed down not as a curse from any god, but as a policy enforced by people who called themselves civilized. Sit with the scale of that for a moment. This was not a battle that ended with a treaty and a grudging peace, the kind of ending wars are supposed to have. It was a campaign aimed at erasing a people's right to exist, later repackaged as the dawn of civilization, as if light could only arrive by extinguishing whoever was standing in its way first. So why erase rather than simply rule? A purely military threat doesn't require this. You can conquer a people, tax them, absorb their soldiers, and let their gods quietly fade into folklore over a few generations. Empires do this constantly without bothering to hunt bloodlines centuries after the fighting stops. Something else was at stake here, And the most likely answer isn't military, it's theological. Consider what the Hornsent actually represented: a working civilization, with its own gods, its own moral order, its own explanation for why the world existed and what people owed it, built entirely without the Erdtree, not failed, not collapsing, functioning. And that may have been the unforgivable part. The Golden Order's entire claim to legitimacy rests on being the truth, not a truth. If the Hornsent could keep existing, keep worshipping the moon, keep raising children who never once needed the Erdtree to explain their place in the world, then the Golden Order wasn't inevitable. It was just one option among several, and a fragile one at that. An idea that needs everyone to believe it is universal cannot survive a visible counterexample living next door. That reframes the entire war. Maybe this was never really about territory or armies. Maybe the Hornsent had to disappear specifically because their continued existence was proof that the Golden Order was a choice, not a destiny. And destiny doesn't tolerate competition. Here is the question worth sitting with longer than the Golden Order would like. Why would a being supposedly defined by compassion and balance choose annihilation over coexistence? Look at it as a question of control rather than morality, and the picture sharpens. A war is something you win and then govern. What happened to the Hornsent looks less like a war and more like an attempt to make a competing worldview structurally impossible, not just defeated, but unable to exist as an alternative ever again. That is the difference between conquest and control. Conquest wants obedience. Control wants there to be no other option left to even imagine. And that decision, whichever it was made more than once. The persecution did not end when the war did. And that is the detail that confirms this was never just military strategy. Centuries later, descendants of the Hornsent were still being hunted for the simple crime of carrying old blood in new bodies, long after any of them could plausibly raise an army or threaten a border. If this had only ever been about territory, the hatred would have cooled once the territory was secured. It didn't. It was generational. It was institutional. The only thing that explains hunting an idea for centuries after its armies are gone is that the idea itself, not the soldiers, was always the real target. So why does almost no one talk about this? Because the mythology of the New Order was written by its architects, and architects rarely inscribe genocide into their own founding myth. They write ascension instead. Light defeating darkness, civilization replacing chaos, and in the editing the Hornsent shrink into a footnote. The Albinaurics become a curiosity wandering the edges of the map, and the figure who orchestrated their destruction becomes the benevolent mother of an entire age. That erasure wasn't an accident of forgetting. It was the final phase of the same project that started with fire. But here is the twist that should unsettle anyone still calling this a clean story of good triumphing over evil. The empire built on Hornsent ashes did not protect its architect in the end. The very Erdtree planted in conquered soil eventually rejected Marika. Her own children turned against one another in a war that would shatter everything she had spent centuries building. The Golden Order that erased an entire people to secure its throne could not secure its own family, its own stability, or its own myth of permanence. All that conquest, all that erasure, and the throne still cracked from the inside. There is a brutal symmetry buried in that failure. So much power was spent making sure the Hornsent left no trace, and yet centuries later, fragments of that erased people, the surviving Albinaurics, the lingering hatred still aimed at them, became part of the pressure that helped crack the golden world apart from within. You cannot build an eternal order on a foundation of bones and expect the structure to stay silent forever. This is why the Hornsent still matter, even now. even buried as deep as the Golden Order could manage. They are proof that this was never simply good versus evil arriving to save a broken land. A choice was made, early and absolute, that some people's existence was incompatible with a particular vision of order. And that choice was enforced first with fire, then with generations of quiet persecution, then finally with selective memory, the slow editing of a civilization out of its own history. Every time the Golden Order gets praised as a force of peace, it's worth remembering what that peace cost, and who never got a vote in the matter. The Erdtree's light has always cast a long shadow, and that shadow has a body count the official record never wrote down, because writing it down would mean admitting Marika's order was built on a choice, not a destiny. Somewhere beneath the golden fields surrounding Leyndell, there is a people who would tell a very different story about how this world began. They didn't disappear because they had to.